Elena Vasquez walked through the glass corridors of Kepler Station, her heart beating fast with excitement. She was the first human ever accepted into the Galactic Institute of Advanced Sciences. Around her, aliens of all shapes and sizes moved with purpose. The tall, crystal-like Zephyrians clinked softly as they walked. The small, furry Nexari moved in groups, their minds connected to each other. Elena felt very small and very alone. She had studied for years to get here, but now she wondered if she belonged. The other students looked at her with curious eyes. Some whispered to each other in languages she could not understand. She knew they were talking about her. Humans were new to the galaxy. Most aliens still thought of them as a primitive species. Dr. Vasquez, a voice called behind her. Elena turned to see Professor Thektar approaching. He was a Zephyrian, tall and made of what looked like living crystal. His body glowed with a soft blue light. "I hope you are settling in well." "Yes, Professor." "Thank you," Elena replied. She had practiced speaking clearly. The universal translator worked well, but she wanted to make a good impression. "Excellent. I have a request for you," Professor Thektar said. His crystal face was hard to read, but his voice sounded friendly. "We are conducting an experiment tomorrow. We need volunteers from different species. Would you be interested in participating?" Elena nodded quickly. "Of course. What kind of experiment?" "We are studying how different species react to changing gravity fields. It is quite safe. We have done it many times with other species," the professor explained. "You would simply stand in a chamber while we adjust the gravity. We monitor your vital signs and reactions." "That sounds fascinating," Elena said. She was genuinely interested. As a physicist, she had always been curious about gravity manipulation technology. "What time should I be there?" "Tomorrow at 800 hours, Laboratory 7. Wear comfortable clothes," Professor Thektar said. "And Dr. Vasquez, thank you for volunteering. Having a human perspective will add valuable data to our research." Elena spent the rest of the day exploring the station and reading about the experiment. The research papers showed that most species could handle about 5 times their normal gravity before becoming unconscious. The strongest species, the warrior-like Chronari, could manage up to 8 times normal gravity. The experiment seemed routine. The next morning, Elena arrived at Laboratory 7 early. The lab was impressive, with gleaming metal walls and strange alien technology everywhere. In the center stood a large glass chamber about the size of a small room. Cables and sensors covered the walls inside. "Ah, Dr. Vasquez, perfect timing," Professor Thektar said. He was working with 2 other scientists, an Nexari whose fur was pure white and another Zephyrian with green crystal skin. "This is Dr. Zixny and Dr. Veltar. They will help monitor the experiment." Dr. Zixny looked up from her equipment. Her large dark eyes blinked rapidly. "We are very excited to work with a human. Your species is still quite mysterious to us," Elena smiled. "I hope I can provide useful data." Professor Thektar showed Elena the chamber. "You will stand inside here. We will start with normal gravity, then slowly increase it. If you feel uncomfortable at any time, just say so and we will stop immediately." Elena examined the chamber. It looked safe enough. The walls were thick and there were several handholds built into the sides. "How high will the gravity go?" "For humans, we estimate about 6 or 7 times normal should be the maximum safe level," Dr. Veltar said, checking his crystal tablet. "Based on your body structure, that should be well within tolerance." Elena nodded and stepped into the chamber. The door sealed with a soft hiss. She could hear the scientists clearly through the communication system. "Beginning test sequence," Professor Thektar announced. Starting at 1 gravity. Elena felt normal. She stood relaxed in the center of the chamber, hands at her sides. Through the glass, she could see the alien scientists watching their instruments carefully. "Increasing to 2 gravity," Dr. Zixny called out. Elena felt heavier, like she was wearing a heavy backpack. It was uncomfortable but manageable. She had experienced similar sensations during astronaut training on Earth. "Vital signs normal," Dr. Veltar reported. "Proceeding to 3 gravity." Now Elena felt the real weight. Her legs worked harder to keep her standing. She reached out and grabbed one of the handholds to steady herself. The metal felt cold under her fingers. 4 gravity, Professor Thektar said. Elena bent her knees slightly and focused on breathing. The pressure was intense, but she could handle it. She noticed the scientists looking surprised at their instruments. "Her heart rate is remarkably stable," Dr. Zixny whispered, but Elena could hear her clearly. 5 gravity, Dr. Veltar called. This was getting difficult. Elena felt like someone was pressing down on her shoulders with tremendous force. Her muscles strained, but she remained standing. She gripped the handhold tighter. 6 gravity, Professor Thektar said. His voice sounded concerned. Dr. Vasquez, how do you feel? I'm okay, Elena said through gritted teeth. She was surprised she could still speak clearly. Keep going. The scientists looked at each other with amazement. Most species would be unconscious by now. 7 gravity, Dr. Zixny announced. Elena's legs shook with effort, but she stayed upright. Her breathing was heavy but controlled. She could see the aliens staring at her with wide eyes. 8 gravity, Dr. Veltar said hesitantly. Elena felt the enormous pressure pushing down on her. Her whole body ached, but she was still conscious and aware. She adjusted her grip on the handhold. Remarkable, Professor Thektar breathed. No known species has remained conscious at 8 gravity. Let's try 9, Elena said. She was curious now about her own limits. Are you certain? Dr. Zixny asked. This is far beyond what we expected. I'm sure, Elena replied. 9 gravity, Professor Thektar announced reluctantly. The pressure was incredible now. Elena felt like she weighed nearly a ton. Every movement required enormous effort. But she was still standing, still thinking clearly. 10 gravity, Dr. Veltar said in amazement. Elena's muscles screamed in protest, but she held on. She could see the scientists frantically checking their equipment, as if they could not believe their readings. 12 gravity, Professor Thektar called out. Elena stumbled slightly but caught herself. The handhold creaked under her grip. 15 gravity, Dr. Zixny announced. Something strange happened. Elena felt a surge of determination. Instead of collapsing, she seemed to find new strength. She straightened up, still gripping the handhold tightly. There was a sharp crack. Elena looked down in shock. The metal handhold, made of reinforced titanium alloy, had crumpled in her hand like soft clay. The twisted metal fell to the floor with a heavy thud. The laboratory fell completely silent. Elena stared at the broken metal, then at her own hand. She felt normal strength-wise, but the evidence was clear. She had just crushed a piece of metal that should have been nearly indestructible. Turn off the gravity, Professor Thektar said quietly. As the gravity returned to normal, Elena felt almost weightless. She picked up the twisted metal piece. It was definitely real, definitely broken. Dr. Zixny was the first to speak. In 300 years of research, no sapient species has ever remained conscious past 10 gravity. You were functional at 15 gravity and you broke a reinforced titanium handhold. Elena looked at the 3 scientists staring at her through the glass. She realized that her simple participation in a routine experiment had just changed everything. The way they looked at her now was different. Not curious, but amazed and perhaps a little afraid. I think, Professor Thektar said slowly, we need to run some more tests. The news spread through Kepler Station like wildfire. By the end of the day, everyone knew about the human who had broken the gravity chamber. Elena found herself the center of attention wherever she went. Students and professors stopped their conversations to stare at her. Some pointed and whispered. Others simply watched her with wide eyes. Elena tried to act normal, but it was impossible. She sat in the station's cafeteria, picking at her food while aliens at nearby tables talked about her in hushed voices. She caught words like impossible and unprecedented in several different languages. Dr. Vasquez, a voice said behind her. Elena turned to see Dr. Zixny approaching with a tray of food. May I sit with you? Elena nodded gratefully. She had been eating alone since the experiment. Dr. Zixny sat down and began eating what looked like small purple fruits. I wanted to apologize for the attention you are receiving. Word travels fast on the station. It's not your fault, Elena said. I just wish I understood what happened. I don't feel any different than I did yesterday. That is exactly what makes this so fascinating, Dr. Zixny said. Her large eyes sparkled with curiosity. We have run the analysis 50 times. The results are always the same. You withstood 15 times normal gravity while remaining fully conscious and functional. Elena poked at her salad. What does that mean exactly? It means humans are unlike any species we have ever encountered, Dr. Zixny explained. The strongest warrior species in the galaxy can barely handle 8 gravity before losing consciousness. You made it look easy, but I'm not a warrior. I'm just a scientist, Elena protested. Which makes it even more remarkable, Dr. Zixney said. If an average human can do this, what might your strongest individuals be capable of? Elena had not thought about that. She was in decent shape, but nothing special by human standards. She jogged sometimes and did yoga, but she was not an athlete or soldier. Professor Tektar appeared at their table. His crystal body glowed brighter than usual, which Elena had learned meant he was excited or agitated. Dr. Vasquez, I have been contacted by the Galactic Science Council, he said without sitting down. They want to conduct a full study of human physiology. They are sending a research team. Elena felt her stomach drop. A research team? What kind of study? Comprehensive biological analysis. Bone density scans, muscle fiber examination, neural response testing. Professor Thektar listed off. They want to understand how humans can do what you did. Do I have a choice? Elena asked. Professor Thektar's crystal face somehow managed to look sympathetic. Technically, yes, but refusing would raise many questions. The Council is already asking why humanity was admitted to galactic society without proper biological screening. Elena looked around the cafeteria. More aliens were staring at her now, and their expressions had changed. Yesterday they looked curious. Today they looked worried. There is something else, Dr. Zixney said quietly. Commander Vexhai of the Chronari Empire has requested access to our research data. Elena knew about the Chronari. They were the galaxy's primary military power, a species of large, aggressive reptilian humanoids. They respected only strength and had the most powerful military in known space. Why would they want our data? Elena asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. The Chronari are always interested in military applications, Professor Thektar said carefully. A species that can function at 15 gravity would have obvious advantages in combat situations. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She had come here to study physics and learn about alien technology. She had never thought about the military implications of human biology. The next few days passed in a blur of medical tests and examinations. The research team from the Galactic Science Council arrived with equipment Elena had never seen before. They scanned her bones, tested her blood, and measured her muscle responses. Dr. Milren, the lead researcher, was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 4 arms. He worked efficiently and spoke very little. When he did speak, it was usually to express amazement at the test results. Your bone density is 3 times higher than any known sapient species, he told Elena during one session. Your muscle fibers are completely unique. They appear to be designed for extreme stress tolerance. Designed? Elena asked. By who? Not by who. By what? Dr. Milren corrected. By your environment. Tell me about your home planet. Elena described Earth, its gravity, weather patterns, geological activity, and evolutionary history. As she spoke, Dr. Milren and his team exchanged meaningful looks. Your planet has a gravity level of 9.8 meters per second squared, Dr. Milren said when she finished. That is 40% higher than the galactic average for habitable worlds. It is? Elena was surprised. No one had ever mentioned that before. Most species evolve on what we call garden worlds, explained Dr. Yithra, another researcher with blue skin and large, bulging eyes. Stable climates, predictable weather, minimal geological activity. Your Earth is classified as a high-stress environment. High stress? Elena repeated. Earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, asteroid impacts, extreme weather variations, Dr. Milren listed. Your species evolved under constant environmental pressure. This has made you physically exceptional by galactic standards. Elena tried to process this information. Earth had always seemed normal to her because it was all she knew. She had never considered that other planets might be more stable or peaceful. We have also discovered something else, Dr. Yithra said. She pulled up a holographic display showing Elena's test results. Your reflexes are approximately 60% faster than the galactic average. Your healing rate is twice as fast. Your endurance levels are off our measurement scales. What does all this mean? Elena asked. Dr. Milren set down his instruments and looked at her seriously. It means humans are what we call an apex species. In simple terms, you are physically superior to most life forms in the galaxy. Elena stared at him. That can't be right. Humans aren't special. We're just normal. Normal by your standards, perhaps, Dr. Yithra said. But your normal is extraordinary by ours. That evening, Elena sat in her quarters trying to contact Earth. She wanted to talk to someone from home, to feel normal again. But her communication attempts were being blocked or redirected. After several tries, she received a message that her calls were being monitored for security purposes. Security purposes? Elena felt a growing sense of unease. A soft chime indicated someone was at her door. Elena opened it to find Professor Thektar standing in the corridor. His crystal body was dimmed, which she had learned meant he was troubled. "May I come in?" he asked. "We need to talk." Elena let him in, and they sat in her small living area. "The results of your tests have been classified at the highest levels," Professor Thektar said without preamble. "The Galactic Council is in emergency session. There are rumors of military mobilizations." "Military mobilizations?" Elena felt her mouth go dry. "Because of me?" "Because of what you represent," Professor Thektar corrected. "Elena, you must understand the implications of what we have discovered. If one average human can withstand 15 gravity and break reinforced metal, what could an entire human military force accomplish?" Elena had not thought about it in those terms. She imagined human soldiers who could function in environments that would incapacitate any other species, who could lift and throw objects that others could barely move, who could survive injuries that would be fatal to aliens. "Some factions want humanity quarantined," Professor Thektar continued. "Others want to recruit humans as allies. The Chronari are already making plans to either employ human mercenaries or eliminate the threat entirely." "Eliminate the threat?" Elena whispered. "They see humanity as a potential rival for galactic dominance," Professor Thektar explained. "In their minds, it is better to act now while humans are still technologically inferior." Elena stood up and walked to her window. Outside, she could see the stars and the distant glow of nearby systems. Somewhere out there was Earth, home to billions of humans who had no idea their very existence was now considered a galactic crisis. "What am I supposed to do?" she asked. Professor Thektar joined her at the window. "That depends on what humanity chooses to do with this knowledge. The galaxy is watching and waiting to see what kind of species humans really are." Elena could not sleep. She lay in her bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything Professor Thektar had told her. Outside her window, the stars looked different now. Instead of points of light representing wonder and discovery, they seemed like watching eyes. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Elena checked the time. It was 3 a.m. station time. She opened the door carefully and found Dr. Mirza standing in the corridor. Dr. Mirza was a xenobiologist from the Peaceful Ethereal Collective, known for their wisdom and careful research methods. "I apologize for the late hour," Dr. Mirza said. She was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and silver hair that moved like it was underwater. "But I believe we need to discuss your situation." Privately, Elena let her in. Dr. Mirza looked around the room carefully before speaking. "I have been analyzing the data from your tests," she said quietly. "I think I understand why humans are so different from other species." "Would you like to know what I discovered?" Elena nodded, settling into a chair across from the alien scientist. Dr. Mirza activated a small holographic projector. Images of planets appeared in the air between them. "These are the homeworlds of the major galactic species," she explained. "Notice the similarities." Elena looked at the planets. They all looked peaceful and stable. Calm blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. No dramatic weather patterns or obvious signs of geological activity. "Now observe this," Dr. Mirza said, and Earth appeared in the hologram. Elena gasped. Compared to the other worlds, Earth looked wild and dangerous. She could see massive storm systems swirling over the oceans, snow-covered polar regions, deserts, and mountain ranges that seemed impossibly tall. "Your planet is what we classify as a Class 4 hazard world," Dr. Mirza explained. "Most species evolve on Class 1 worlds, stable, peaceful, with minimal environmental challenges." "What's the difference?" Elena asked. Dr. Mirza changed the hologram to show charts and graphs. A Class 1 world has stable temperatures year-round, minimal weather variation, low tectonic activity, and gravity typically between 6 and 7 meters per second squared. Your Earth has extreme seasonal variations, violent weather systems, constant geological activity, and high gravity. Elena studied the data, so other species never had to deal with hurricanes, earthquakes, ice ages, or floods. Correct. Most galactic species evolved in what your people would consider paradise, Dr. Mirza said. They never needed to develop the physical resilience that humans possess. But why didn't anyone know this before? Elena asked. Because no one thought to look, Dr. Mirza admitted. When humanity first made contact with the galaxy, we assumed you were similar to other species. Your technology level was primitive, so we classified you as a typical developing civilization. No one conducted detailed biological studies. Elena felt a growing understanding. So all this time humans have been living on a world that would be considered uninhabitable by most galactic species? Not uninhabitable, but extremely challenging, Dr. Mirza corrected. And that challenge shaped your evolution in remarkable ways. Dr. Mirza pulled up more data. Consider this. The average galactic species can run for perhaps 30 minutes before exhaustion. Humans can run for hours. Most species cannot survive temperature variations of more than 20 degrees. Humans live comfortably in environments ranging from Arctic cold to desert heat. Elena thought about her own life on Earth. She remembered hiking in mountains, swimming in cold lakes, playing sports for hours. She had never considered these things unusual. There is more, Dr. Mirza continued. Your immune systems are incredibly robust compared to ours. You heal from injuries that would permanently disable most species. Your pain tolerance is extraordinary. This is all because Earth is more dangerous than other worlds? Elena asked. Exactly. Your ancestors had to be strong and adaptable to survive. Over millions of years, this created a species unlike any other in the galaxy, Dr. Mirza explained. Elena stood up and walked to her window again. Earth was not visible from here, but she thought about her home planet with new understanding. Every hurricane that had battered the coasts, every earthquake that had shaken the ground, every ice age that had challenged early humans, all of it had made her species stronger. Dr. Mirza, what do you think will happen now? Elena asked. The alien scientist was quiet for a long moment. That depends on how the galaxy chooses to react to this knowledge. Some will see humans as a threat to be eliminated. Others will see you as potential protectors. Protectors? Elena, the galaxy is not as peaceful as it might seem, Dr. Mirza said seriously. There are dangers out there. Hostile species from other galaxies, cosmic phenomena that threaten entire star systems, ancient artifacts that pose existential risks. Perhaps the universe created humans for a reason. Elena felt a chill. You think humans were meant to be some kind of galactic guardians? I think evolution rarely creates abilities that are not needed, Dr. Mirza replied. Your species survived on a world that should have killed you. Instead, it made you incredibly strong. That suggests you may face challenges that require such strength. The next morning brought disturbing news. Elena arrived at the laboratory to find Professor Thektar in urgent discussion with several other scientists. Their crystal bodies were flashing in rapid patterns, a sign of extreme agitation. What's happening? Elena asked. We have received reports from multiple sources, Professor Thektar said. Word about human capabilities has spread beyond the scientific community. Several governments are demanding immediate action. Dr. Zixny looked up from her workstation. The Kronari Empire has issued a formal statement calling humans a potential threat to galactic stability. They are demanding that humanity be placed under galactic supervision. Elena felt her heart sink. Supervision? What does that mean? Limited technology transfer, restricted space travel, mandatory biological monitoring, Professor Thektar explained. Essentially, they want to treat humanity as a controlled species. That's not fair, Elena protested. We haven't done anything wrong. I participated in one experiment. Unfortunately, fairness is not the primary concern, Dr. Mirza said, entering the laboratory. Fear is driving these decisions. Many species are terrified of what humanity might become if given advanced technology. Elena thought about this. If humans were physically superior to most galactic species, and if they gained access to advanced weapons and spacecraft, they could potentially dominate the galaxy. She could understand why other species might be worried. There is more troubling news, Dr. Zixny said hesitantly. We have detected unusual military movements in several systems. The Kronari are mobilizing their fleet. Mobilizing for what? Elena asked, though she feared she already knew. Unknown officially, Professor Thektar said, but there are rumors of a preemptive strike against Earth. Elena felt the room spinning around her. A preemptive strike meant attacking Earth before humans could become a threat. Billions of innocent people could die because of what she had revealed in a simple physics experiment. We have to warn them, Elena said desperately. We have to tell Earth what's happening. All communications to Earth have been blocked by the Galactic Council. Dr. Mirza said sadly. They claim it is for security purposes, but in reality, they want to control the flow of information. Elena sat down heavily in a chair. She had come to the station to learn and study. Instead, she had accidentally triggered a galactic crisis that could end with the destruction of her homeworld. There may be one option, Dr. Mirza said quietly. The Ethereal Collective has significant influence in the Galactic Council. We could attempt to broker a peaceful solution. What kind of solution? Elena asked. A demonstration, Dr. Mirza explained. If we could show the galaxy that humans can be trusted with their abilities, that you choose cooperation over conquest, it might change minds. Elena looked around the laboratory at the alien scientists who had become her friends. They were trying to help, but the situation seemed impossible. How could she prove that humanity was peaceful, when most of the galaxy had already decided they were a threat? What would this demonstration involve? Elena asked. Dr. Mirza exchanged looks with the other scientists. We would need to bring representatives from Earth to the Galactic Council. Let them see humans directly, interact with them, understand your true nature. And if it doesn't work, Elena asked, Professor Thektar's crystal body dimmed, then I fear we may witness the first genocide in galactic history. Elena closed her eyes and thought about Earth, her family, her friends, billions of people living their lives without knowing they had become the galaxy's most feared species. She had to find a way to save them, but first she needed to understand exactly what humanity was capable of. The truth might be even more shocking than anyone realized. Elena stood before the Galactic Council, her hands shaking slightly as she looked out at the massive chamber. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the curved rows of seats that stretched up to the ceiling. The diversity was overwhelming, crystalline beings that sparkled in the light, floating gas-like entities in containment suits, massive insectoid creatures with compound eyes, and dozens of other forms of life she could not even categorize. 3 weeks had passed since Dr. Mirza's proposal for a peaceful demonstration. Those weeks had been filled with frantic negotiations, careful planning, and growing tension throughout the galaxy. Now Elena found herself as humanity's first official representative to the Galactic Council, trying to prevent a war. The Ethereal Collective had managed to arrange for a small human delegation to be brought from Earth. Elena's heart lifted when she saw her colleagues from the International Space Agency, Dr. James Chen, Captain Sarah Martinez, and Professor David Okafor. They sat in a special section reserved for the human delegation, looking as overwhelmed as Elena felt. Chancellor Vexhai of the Chronari Empire rose from his seat. He was enormous even by Chronari standards, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales with yellow eyes that seemed to burn with inner fire. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. Honored representatives, he began, his words automatically translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. We face an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. The species known as humanity possesses physical capabilities that could upset the balance of power that has maintained peace for 1,000 years. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Elena noticed that many representatives were nodding or making gestures of support. I do not speak from fear, but from wisdom, Chancellor Vexhai continued. The Chronari have served as protectors of this galaxy for centuries. We understand the dangers of unchecked power. This species must be contained before they can threaten peaceful civilizations. Elena felt anger rising in her chest. She stood up from her seat before anyone could stop her. With respect, Chancellor, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. You speak of threats and dangers, but what has humanity actually done to threaten anyone? The chamber fell silent. Elena could feel thousands of eyes focused on her. Chancellor Vexhai's yellow gaze fixed on her with obvious hostility. You have revealed capabilities that could make your species dominant over all others, he replied. Your very existence threatens the established order. So you want to destroy us because we might potentially become a threat? Elena asked. Not because we have threatened anyone, but because we could? Before Chancellor Vexhai could respond, another voice spoke up. Prime Minister Thalaran of the Ethereal Collective rose gracefully from her seat. Her silver hair flowed around her as she moved, and her voice was calm and melodious. Perhaps we should allow the humans to demonstrate their nature through actions rather than assumptions, she suggested. I propose a practical test. Elena felt her stomach tighten. What kind of test? Prime Minister Thalarin smiled. Nothing dangerous. Simply a demonstration of human physical capabilities followed by a demonstration of human character. Chancellor Vexhai crossed his massive arms. What do you have in mind? Let us set up a series of physical challenges, Prime Minister Thalarin explained. We will invite volunteers from the human delegation to compete alongside representatives from other species. This will allow the Council to observe human abilities directly. Elena looked at her fellow humans. Dr. Chen was a theoretical physicist like herself, intelligent but not particularly athletic. Captain Martinez was a pilot and former military officer who stayed in good shape. Professor Okafor was an archaeologist who spent most of his time in libraries. None of them were professional athletes or soldiers. I accept, Elena said before anyone else could speak. But I want to add a condition. What condition? Chancellor Vexhai demanded suspiciously. After the physical demonstration, you must allow us to participate in a simulation that tests decision-making and moral reasoning, Elena said. If you want to judge humanity's character, judge how we respond to difficult choices. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives talked animatedly among themselves in dozens of languages. Elena could pick out words like reasonable, fair, and acceptable in several alien tongues. Finally, Chancellor Vexhai nodded grudgingly. Very well. We will conduct both tests. But know this, human. If your species fails either test, the Galactic Council will have no choice but to act to protect the galaxy. The physical challenges took place the next day in the station's largest gymnasium. Elena found herself facing a series of tasks designed to test strength, endurance, agility, and pain tolerance. She was joined by Captain Martinez, who had volunteered despite Elena's protests. The first challenge was a simple strength test. Representatives from 12 different species would attempt to lift progressively heavier weights. Elena went last, after watching aliens of various sizes struggle with masses that seemed reasonable for their body types. When Elena's turn came, she easily lifted weights that had defeated much larger aliens. The watching crowd grew increasingly quiet as she continued to heavier and heavier masses. Finally, she lifted a weight that was 5 times what the strongest Chronari warrior had managed. The endurance test was even more revealing. While other species became exhausted after running for 20 or 30 minutes, Elena and Captain Martinez ran for over 2 hours without serious difficulty. Elena could have continued longer, but the test administrators finally called a halt. The agility course showed that humans were not just strong and enduring, but also remarkably coordinated and quick. Elena navigated obstacles that had challenged much smaller, apparently more nimble species. But it was the pain tolerance test that truly shocked the observers. Elena subjected herself to increasing levels of controlled electrical stimulation that would have incapacitated most species at low levels. She remained functional and alert at intensities that made the alien observers visibly uncomfortable to watch. When the physical tests were complete, the gymnasium fell silent. Elena could see fear in many of the alien faces watching her. She had proven that humans were indeed physically superior to most galactic species by a significant margin. Chancellor Vexhai approached her as she toweled off. Impressive, he admitted grudgingly. But physical power without wisdom is the most dangerous combination in the universe. Then let's test our wisdom, Elena replied. The moral reasoning simulation took place in a virtual reality chamber. Elena and her fellow humans were placed in a series of scenarios designed to test their decision-making under pressure. The scenarios were observed by psychologists and philosophers from multiple species. The first scenario was simple. Elena commanded a human starship that discovered a disabled alien vessel. The aliens were from a species that had previously attacked human colonies. She was given multiple options: rescue them, ignore them, or capture them for interrogation. Elena chose to rescue them without hesitation, providing medical aid and safe passage home. The scenarios grew more complex. Elena was asked to make decisions about resource allocation during famines, respond to terrorist attacks while protecting civilian populations, and choose between military victory and humanitarian concerns. In every case, Elena and her fellow humans chose options that prioritized life, cooperation, and long-term peace over short-term advantage or revenge. Even when presented with opportunities to gain power or eliminate potential threats, they consistently chose ethical paths. The final scenario was the most challenging. Elena was told that a mysterious alien fleet was approaching Earth with unknown intentions. She could choose to launch a preemptive strike with new superweapons that would guarantee human victory, or she could attempt diplomatic contact despite the risk. Elena chose diplomacy. When the simulation ended, the chamber where the Galactic Council observed was completely silent. Elena could see the representatives discussing among themselves in hushed tones. Dr. Yithra, the psychologist who had helped design the tests, stood to address the council. In 300 years of conducting these evaluations, she said, I have never encountered a species that consistently chose ethical options over advantageous ones. Most species prioritize their own survival and benefit. Humans appear to have a unique commitment to principles that transcend self-interest. Chancellor Vexhai stood slowly. Elena could see internal conflict in his reptilian features. The humans have demonstrated both exceptional physical capabilities and remarkable moral restraint, he admitted. But the question remains, what happens when they face real pressure? What happens when their survival is truly threatened? As if summoned by his words, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and an automated voice announced, Unknown vessels detected approaching the station. All personnel report to emergency stations. Elena looked at the viewing screens showing space around the station. A fleet of dark angular ships was emerging from hyperspace, their hulls covered in weapons that she did not recognize. They were not from any known galactic civilization. Hostile vessels, Captain Martinez observed, her military training evident. Those weapon configurations are designed for planetary bombardment. Chancellor Valena ran through the station corridors faster than any alien could follow. Behind her, Captain Martinez kept pace easily while Dr. Chen and Professor Okafor coordinated with station security. The attacking fleet was 20 minutes away, and the station's defenses were not designed for military combat. Elena, what are you planning? Captain Martinez asked as they reached the station's docking bay. The station has maintenance pods equipped with industrial cutting tools, Elena explained. If we can get close enough to those ships, we might be able to disable them. Captain Martinez stared at her. You want to use construction equipment to fight a military fleet? Do you have a better idea? Elena asked, already climbing into the nearest maintenance pod. The pod was not designed for combat or high-speed maneuvering. It was a simple utility vehicle with basic thrusters, life support, and industrial tools for repairing the station's exterior. Elena had used similar vehicles during her astronaut training on Earth. Elena, this is insane. Dr. Chen's voice came through the communication system. Those ships have weapons that could vaporize the entire station. Then we don't give them a chance to use them, Elena replied. Firing up the pod systems, Captain Martinez climbed into the second pod. If we're doing this, we're doing it together. Professor Thektar's voice crackled through the communication system. Dr. Vasquez, the Galactic Council is watching. Whatever you do will be seen by representatives from every major civilization. Good, Elena said. Maybe they'll finally understand what humanity really is. Elena launched her pod into space, with Captain Martinez following close behind. The alien fleet was now visible as dark shapes against the stars, growing larger by the minute. Elena could see their weapons charging, energy building along the hulls of the ships. Elena, I'm detecting massive power buildup in their primary weapons, Captain Martinez reported. They're preparing to fire on the station. Elena pushed her pod's thrusters to maximum. The small vehicle was not built for this kind of acceleration, but Elena's enhanced physiology allowed her to remain conscious and functional under G-forces that would have incapacitated most pilots. Sarah, take the ship on the left, Elena called out. I'll handle the one on the right. We need to hit their weapon systems before they can fire. Elena approached the alien vessel at tremendous speed. The ship was enormous, at least a kilometer long, with a hull covered in armored plating and weapon emplacements. It looked utterly invincible compared to her tiny maintenance pod. But Elena had learned something about herself during the physics experiment. When facing impossible odds, humans did not give up. They found a way. Elena flew her pod directly toward the ship's main weapon array. Energy beams lanced out from the alien vessel, trying to destroy her tiny craft. Elena's enhanced reflexes allowed her to dodge and weave through the weapon's fire in ways that should have been impossible. Elena, you're flying like you're in a fighter jet, not a maintenance pod, Captain Martinez observed with amazement. Elena realized Captain Martinez was right. She was maneuvering the clumsy utility vehicle with precision and speed that defied its design limitations. Her reflexes, enhanced by Earth's harsh evolutionary pressure, were allowing her to do things that should have been impossible. Elena reached the alien ship's hull and activated her pod's cutting laser. The industrial tool was designed to slice through metal plating for repairs. Elena aimed it at what looked like a critical junction in the weapon system. The cutting laser burned through the alien armor like it was paper. Elena carved deep gouges in the ship's hull, severing power conduits and weapon linkages. Explosions bloomed across the vessel's surface as critical systems failed. Direct hit. Captain Martinez called out. Their main weapon is offline. Elena looked across space to see Captain Martinez's pod dancing around the second alien ship. The military pilot was using techniques Elena had never seen before, making the maintenance pod move like a high-performance fighter. Captain Martinez was also cutting through the alien hull with her industrial laser, disabling weapons with surgical precision. How are you doing that? Elena asked in amazement. I don't know, Captain Martinez replied. It's like the pod is responding to my thoughts. I can feel exactly where I need to be. Elena understood. The same enhancement that allowed humans to survive in high gravity was making them superior pilots. Their reflexes, spatial awareness, and physical tolerance were letting them push machines far beyond their normal limits. The alien fleet was in chaos. 2 of their ships were disabled, and the others were trying to target the impossibly fast human pods. Elena and Captain Martinez continued their attack, moving between the ships like tiny wasps attacking giants. Elena, we're getting communication from the alien fleet. Dr. Chen reported from the station. They're asking who you are. Elena was too busy to respond. She had discovered that the cutting laser could do more than just disable weapons. She was carving through the hull of the 3rd ship, heading for what looked like their main reactor. Elena, be careful, Professor Thektar warned. If you breach their reactor, the explosion could destroy everything in this area of space. Elena paused. The alien ship was helpless now, its weapons offline, its engines damaged. She could destroy it completely, but that would mean killing everyone aboard. She thought about the moral reasoning test she had just passed. Even in combat, even when facing enemies who had threatened innocent lives, humans chose to preserve life when possible. Sarah, disable their engines and communication systems, but leave life support intact, Elena called out. Copy that, Captain Martinez replied. Looks like they're trying to surrender anyway. Elena looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was indeed attempting to surrender. Their ships were powering down weapons and broadcasting what appeared to be distress signals. Elena, you need to return to the station immediately. Dr. Chen's voice was urgent. The Galactic Council wants to speak with you. Elena and Captain Martinez flew their damaged pods back to the station. Elena's pod was smoking and sparking from the stress she had put it under, but it held together long enough to reach the docking bay. As Elena climbed out of the pod, she found herself surrounded by alien representatives. They stared at her with expressions ranging from amazement to fear, to something that might have been respect. Chancellor Vexhai approached her slowly. His massive frame seemed less intimidating now, and his yellow eyes held a different kind of intensity. In 30 minutes, 2 humans in construction vehicles defeated a military fleet that should have been able to destroy this entire station, he said quietly. Explain to me how this is possible. Elena was tired, her body aching from the G-forces and stress, but she stood straight and looked the Chronari leader in the eyes. Because we had something to protect, she said simply. You, all of you. When people we care about are in danger, humans don't think about the odds. We think about how to save them. Prime Minister Thalaren stepped forward. You could have destroyed those ships completely. You had them helpless. Why did you choose to disable them instead? Because unnecessary killing is wrong, Elena replied. They were defeated. Killing them would have served no purpose except revenge. Dr. Mirza approached with a data tablet. Elena, we have analyzed the wreckage and identified the attacking fleet. They are from the Void Hunters, a species from outside our galaxy. They have been probing our defenses for months. Elena nodded tiredly. Are there more of them? Intelligence suggests this was a scouting force, Dr. Mirza said. The main fleet is much larger. Chancellor Vexhai was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a tone Elena had not heard before. It appears the galaxy has been preparing for the wrong threat, he said. While we debated whether humans were dangerous to us, real enemies were planning our destruction. Elena looked around at the assembled aliens. So what happens now? Prime Minister Thularan smiled. Now we formally welcome humanity to the Galactic Council, as full members with all rights and responsibilities, including, Chancellor Vexhai added with what might have been grudging respect, the responsibility of helping to defend the galaxy against threats we cannot handle alone. Elena felt a weight settling on her shoulders. She had come to Kepler Station to study physics. Instead, she had become humanity's first ambassador to a galaxy that desperately needed Earth's unique gifts. There will be more tests, Chancellor Vexhai warned. The Void Hunters were just the beginning. The galaxy faces challenges that will require every advantage we can find. Elena nodded. Humanity will be ready. As the alien representatives began to disperse, Elena caught sight of Earth through one of the station's windows. Her home planet looked small and peaceful from this distance, but she knew now that it had produced something the galaxy had never seen before, a species forged by hardship into protectors. Professor. Thektar approached her as the crowd thinned. Do you regret participating in that physics experiment? He asked. Elena thought about everything that had happened, the fear, the tests, the political crisis, the battle. She thought about the billions of humans back on Earth who would now live in a larger, more dangerous universe. But she also thought about the alien friends she had made, the threats that had been revealed in the Goer.